You're listening to the After the Show movie podcast brought to you by ascully.com. And here are your hosts, A Scully and Sid Talk. Good afternoon, good evening.
And
Hello.
good night. Hola. Hola, senor.
Alright, I'll ask you right now.
Welcome to the fiesta.
Here's your before the after the show question.
We didn't have we were just talking about random things for the before the after the show discussion. Really random.
This is a before the after the show question
Aye.
I've developed for you.
Okay.
What is your favourite horror movie of all time?
I don't know if I have a favorite, to be honest. If I'm going by how I felt when I watched it the first time and the impact or the, it reaching into me and freaking me out genuinely, I have to say The Exorcist. That's just the way it is.
Well, you're just copying off me.
Because I was a kid. I was not supposed to be watching it, probably. It was on television late at night. I was alone in the house. It was raining. I don't know how old I was. Would have been the 80s. Right at 80, something like 80, maybe. 80, 81.
1881.
1881. No, this was the 20th century that I was in. And it rattled me like it you know what it is. And so when I watch anything since then, if things do get to me, nothing has that impact, but I was young. I'd never seen anything like that. Helter Skelter also was a television movie that I watched when I wasn't supposed to, late at night, in the dark, in the basement, which kind of freaked me out. It was like a television version of the Helter Skelter, the
Manson.
Charles Manson's crew killing those people. So I don't remember it specifically, but I remember being just like, this happens in the world, so. But since then, enjoyment-wise, there's a lot. I mean, it comes and goes as well. One of our recommendations this week is one of those that truly gave me a genuinely, I love loving movies feeling,
Yeah.
And you are going to say?
The Exorcist. Always
of
The
course.
Exorcist. You actually didn't see the proper version of The Exorcist either, did you?
Nope. Not until I was an adult a couple years ago.
Until we reviewed the Blu-ray, actually. And you saw the real version of it. Which...
Then I might have had more whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot more... It's a bit more savage, that version.
Correct.
I don't even know what the TV version is like anyway. You probably watched it on HBO or something, right?
Originally, no.
Oh, on normal TV.
We didn't have cable. We had 3 channels. It would have been on the late night show, at midnight or later, either after Saturday Night Live was over, which I also wasn't supposed to be watching, or after Tom Snyder was over on a Friday night, and then it would be you get this screen, I think it was ABC, spinning around, late night movie special, something. And so a lot of it would have been cut out. We're not here to talk about this, though. We're here to talk about a new movie.
My other one that always sticks with me from when I saw it, one of the first horror movies I ever saw, really, was the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It's just plain spooky. It captures the feeling of that. Well, it was kind of the first movie I saw where some people go to a place and then it feels isolated and then stuff starts happening, and it still holds up, I think, to this day.
Stylistically, I don't know, but the idea of it's creepy as fuck. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's got some good for a cheap, really, really cheap movie. It was made on the cheap. The special effects are pretty good. So yeah, that's our horror. Well, reason we're talking about that and reason I came up with that question is this is After the Show. We're a movie review podcast. This will be the weekend of Saturday, September the 8th. And this will be the 547th episode. The movie we're looking at this week is a horror movie. It's called Hereditary. It's a 2018 movie. Releases on Blu-ray on September the 4th, so you can pick this one up now. It's rated R. And it's from our friends at Lionsgate who sent us a copy for review. And Sid Talk will give you the short synopsis of Hereditary.
A family in turmoil. With some crazy weird shit going on. There's not you can't you try the synopsis on this one.
A family...
Muriel's wedding goes very wrong.
A family coming to terms with a loved one's death. Hilarity ensues.
It's not even about that to me, but whatever. Just because somebody died in it, but okay. Like I said, it's hard to describe.
No, hilarity does not ensue. So don't think that that's what this movie is and go and pick it up and go, that's not funny. Because
it's not funny at all. I mean, some people have that weird nervous laughter that they do when they think it's just so ridiculous and dumb that they will laugh out loud. But
this movie's not funny. All right, so let's move into the movie review. And let me say, there will be some spoilers. This movie would be hard to skirt around the issues.
Yeah, total spoilers here. 100%.
Yeah, so definitely see this movie first. Go away. If you've not seen this movie, you do not have the pass to listen to this. I should be able to read your minds and then cut you all off if you've not seen it. So go and see it, especially if you're a horror fan.
And you'll have to buy our app that comes with a thing that you have surgically inserted into your brain. And it will tell us all the movies you've seen.
So go away, because we are going to spoil this movie. And it is best to see this movie unspoiled.
Absolutely.
I didn't even see the trailer for this movie, so yeah, it is best. I actually just watched the trailer for this movie after the movie, and Sid Talk, you will be pleased to know, it doesn't sell it in what it actually is. It kind of pretends it's something else.
Absolutely. So
the trailer doesn't ruin the movie is what I'm getting at. All right, so getting into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. There are some spoilers now. So what did you think of the movie?
It's a comedy. There's your spoiler for you.
Yeah, that's the twist.
At the end, it's another Marvel hero coming into the fray, or it's the origin of another Marvel villain.
Jim Carrey is the monster.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I will say up front, there are moments when it's like, same as last week, where it's just pushing that line of trying a little bit too hard. The person making it, the director guy, is so totally into what he's doing that it blinds him a bit to the extended moments of silence and nothingness, which I like. Don't get me wrong. I can handle that. 30 seconds up to 45 seconds. And then you're just taking the piss. Because in life, if some crazy shit was going down in your house, some weird crazy shit, you will not stop and look around as slowly as your body will possibly allow you. You just wouldn't. You'd be on the move. That's just to increase that tension, which doesn't work for me after a certain point. That's the only complaint I think I would have, other than it also doesn't truly explain what's going on, which is also fine. I'm being passive-aggressive. That's fine. Oh, that's fine. So you have to kind of figure it out for yourself after the fact, or kind of piece some things together. And you're just like, oh, that's why she was doing that. Oh, my God. So those are my only two niggles. Everything else, I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the weirdness, the tension, the noise of the music, the underlying soundtrack that they had in there. Unexpected moments. I mean, I do not bark out at movies. It's very rare. If we're watching a Marvel big action, one of us might go, oh, wow, or holy shit, or something like that. This one made me go, oh my God, oh my God, like that, seriously. And I pushed back in my chair like, whoa, I had to put my popcorn down. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So it was stimulating. It entertained me.
Now this, to me, is a 9 out of 10 horror movie. It's right at the top scale for me. Everything about it was what I like. It's very slow moving. I love that. That's a checkbox for me. Tick, The Exorcist, slow moving. When it does get up to speed, holy crap, does it go from like 0 to 1,000 all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it goes further than I expected it to go, because the type of movie that it sells itself as at the beginning, the last 15 minutes are another movie completely. I mean, it goes nuts. Like, it no way was I expecting what happened. I love how it's really slow. I love how it is really economical with the filmmaking.
Yeah.
There's no fancy, like, choppy cuts or anything. It's all very... You know the scene where Toni Collette and Gabrielle Byrne are stood and she's trying to get him to put the book in the fire?
Yep.
It's just a straight shot with them two stood there. Now, in any other film, they'd be trying to make that scene very exciting, because that thing has to go in the book has to go in the fire. But it's all
about her.
And they would be chopping between them, and they would be making it, doing fast cuts, and the music would be swelling. No, it's just this single shot. It's an exciting thing that's going on, but it's slow and methodical, and it never cuts
And it's
away.
all about her. It's like
Right.
all about her and whatever a lifetime of feeling this thing is coming in right this minute kind of thing.
And that's what this movie does a lot. It's a lot of, and some people would, who are into the more, let's say, The Conjuring or, Annabelle, that kind of thing, where it's full of jump scares. This movie is not full of jump scares. The actual scariness comes from how creepy.
It is a
things
couple creepy moments where if you notice something that is well hidden, but then as soon as you notice it isn't, you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
God, that's how I felt.
but it's not like where something jumps out of a closet
No.
and makes a really loud
You
noise.
have to work for your jump scares, pretty much.
Yeah, so this one's not that. It's more like the whole like creepy factor of it that's built up from the first frame right to the end. It slowly gets more like, oh, ooh, you kind of start to get kind of, oh, that's happening. And it starts, this is where I want to get into the spoilers. Where the movie starts, Toni Collette's character Annie, her mother has died. It's at the funeral, and she's reading the elegy, and it's sad. And then it's kind of they get back to the house. It's they're not in a very good mood. The mother's just died, right? So it's very mopey.
But it's also understood very quickly that this is not like everyone's desperately sad about grandma dying.
No,
Even the eulogy is very like, whoa. So
yeah,
you're not that big of
Grandma
a fan of
was
the mom.
probably very difficult. Let's say.
She said it. She was difficult. She was, I don't even know why I'm saying this. I don't know why you're here kind of thing. She would be very suspicious of those of you who are here.
Yeah, so using the movie Telegraph that I've developed, and we've all developed, it's like this movie, we understand movies and we kind of know how movies are going to go from how it works, This is how this movie works. So, to me, this movie was, well, as soon as we meet the daughter, Charlie, played by Millie Shapiro, it's like, oh, okay, this is creepy kid movie where, a.k.a. The Exorcist, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, I see what we're getting here. Look at the cover. The cover for this Blu-ray says, "This generation's The Exorcist." So I was like, okay, that's what we're getting here. Turns out we're not getting that at all, right? I mean, yes, maybe she is a bit creepy, this kid. There are some creepy things that goes on with her. But then, spoilers, what happens? This is the part where Sid Talk said, oh, God.
Oh, God. This is like, right, okay, this is the biggest spoiler because you're just not, well, first we had to lead up to it. She's creepy and she's having some weird thing where she sees dead grandma kind of in the distance, and
which might not be
she
creepy.
also behaves in a way that's kind of like to herself, and the brother is not interested really in taking her to a party, and she has allergies, and she's even the teacher talks to her like she has maybe a learning disability, which is not, it's not prevalent in the character. It's just that everyone's talking to her like she's very delicate, and we find out she has nut allergies, so that can kill her. Like, she's just not super, something's broken about her as a character. And then they're driving down the road and her head gets knocked off. Like, knocked off.
Yeah, like, you know what?
I'm sorry I sprung that on you, but I was like, oh my God. And then, because you get messed up in the movie a little bit, is this real? Is this a dream? Is this not a dream? Is this a vision? You have that split second of like, no. They didn't, no. That didn't just happen.
Yeah, I thought
But
it
the
was
way
gonna
the
wake
brother
up.
dealt with it, because he was driving the car and then it happened, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant, actually.
Yeah, it's totally unexpected.
Unexpected, and also not necessarily out of the realm of possibility. If you did that as a teenager
Right.
and your sister got her head knocked off, you might just go home, go to bed, don't tell anybody because you're just freaked out, like you don't even know what to do. So I love that part.
So in my mind, I was invested in creepy kid possession, something like that movie, right? So then that happens, the kid gets her head knocked off. So I'm like, oh, okay, we're not creepy kid movie, we're creepy kid ghost movie, okay?
Oh, you're just keeping on the... Okay.
Yeah, because this is how I'm kind of programmed from watching. But no, forget about creepy kid, because she's done, right?
Correct.
She's not actually the focus of this film. Even the cover of this movie, makes it look like she is, right? Look at the cover.
Yep.
So then it moves into this family drama that is awesome. actually. That scene around the dinner table.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, Toni Collette, she just, like, spills her... It's like she spills, like, every emotion onto the table. And it's just awkward. It's like a 15-minute dialogue scene between them all. And it's just, like, harrowing. It's not a horror thing. It's just a drama. It's just like them kind of spilling out their emotions to each other. And then, so we've got that. You know, it's not the Creepy Kid movie. Now it's the drama movie. And then it starts to move into... This is, like, if I didn't like anything about this movie, it was how it went from, like, 0 to 60 when she meets Ann Dowd's character and then goes back to her house. And then it turns into a seance movie.
It's because, and I'm not knocking Ann Dowd, but I don't like her. I don't like her for the people she plays. I don't dislike her as a human being. But as soon as you see her, you're like, she's going to be fucked up. There is no way this person's going to be a decent human being. It's just not going to happen.
But she was a decent human being in American Animals.
Well, she was hardcore. Yes, she was not the villain, but she was pretty hardcore. So we'll give her that. But, yeah, that part, because we didn't build up... The one thing he didn't build up enough was this mother's desperation to shake whatever this feeling is that she's having. We didn't go there long enough or strong enough to kind of build up this thing where this mother, as she's mentioned in a meeting, she goes to a meeting for loved ones of dead people, where she's like, all my life I feel like I'm to blame. Like, it's my fault. Everything's my fault. And they're like, what? And she's like, I don't know. Now, that's it. That's all you get. Then when you watch the whole entire movie and you rewind in your brain, you're like, so she's always had this thing. She didn't know what. It's a big thing. But we didn't lead up to that, to where all of a sudden this woman saying to her, say these words, light this candle. And as you said, don't ever recant words in a movie.
It's a bit quick, that part, for me.
Exactly. I didn't feel like she was at the place to trust that yet. We had no indication that she would fall for it or be in need of it. And so, yeah, I agree with that.
So, yeah, that's where, if there's anything I didn't like, it was that part, just that very brief, she goes to this lady's house, this lady does this mini seance on a table, and a glass moves.
Yeah, and then it just works, like, ba-boom. What the fuck? What are you trying to say here?
But once you've seen the end of this, you kind of understand, there's forces at play that we don't know about yet, right?
Yeah, but now we have to ask, who was moving that glass in that lady's apartment? Did she kill her own grandson just so she could do that little display? You know what I'm saying?
I think there's more to it.
I know, but I was a little confused. Like, okay, if that was just to get her, all that was to give her the instructions of how to do it herself, to go home and do it and conjure up.
They need this woman to go home and say the words.
But she's setting she's using some dead spirit somewhere to make her point, or she just casually talks to them like, "Hey guys, we're gonna play this prank on this lady."
And like I said,
I know you're all dead, but
in
if
a
you
horror
can help
movie.
me.
Don't go home and say the words out loud. Don't go in a cabin and say the words out loud.
Especially if it's a language you don't understand.
Yeah, don't play the cassette tape with the words on it. None of that. But anyway, she goes home and says the words out loud.
And da-da-da.
And then the S, it's the F, and it's pretty crazy from then on. You know?
Yeah, but it still doesn't truly tell you the whole of it. I was still confused about the mother. Then I kind of figured it out that she was actually the embodiment of the queen, and they had, at some point, put the king in the grandchild. Uh-huh. When the mother somehow
Explain the king and the queen.
Okay. Ancient times? I don't know. Thousands of years ago, there were, like, demons who could embody living people, and then they were, like, what want to look like kings, like tyrants who would, like, looks like violent, murder everybody to get all the wealth, right? That was their sort of objective. Yeah. At least from the little tiny bit we get. And so when you've watched it all, you go back and you're like, okay, so what they've done is the lady was the queen. So she was like the center of this group of this culty people, including Ann Dowd from Leftovers.
Correct.
That's why I don't like her. So this woman at some point had a daughter, which is the mom in this movie, knowing, why didn't she just use her daughter? There's a question we didn't ask, but anyway. So the children of the mom of this lady.
Oh no, the question, they needed a man to do it. Well, you mean for
no, because they put it in a little girl.
Yeah.
See, they tried to do the son, Okay, so you've got the queen lady who's reincarnated from thousands of generations of evil queen people, or the evil queen. The king spirit they have to now put into somebody. So she's designed it so that her grandchild is going to be the one who gets the spirit put into him or her. The mother we know in the movie, Colette, resists when she finds out she's pregnant with her son. Something in her must have told her this, because she even admits to him, I tried to have a miscarriage. I mean, it's a horrible thing. She didn't know why, but she just felt compelled. So now you piece that together. Somehow she knew
that this was
that her children are going to be used for something horrible. Yeah. And then she had the little daughter, who apparently, she has health problems and she's not quite strong. The grandmother then takes over the little child baby, and at some point they did a ritual on the little baby, and she's got the king inside of her. She gets her head knocked off, and now we have to find a place for the king to go. And the poor son, who's a teenager,
and
gets to be the target.
Becomes the king.
Right, but the mom in the whole thing, the mom we meet, Colette, it's like she's desperate to stop it all. Like, it's like she's having to sacrifice her children to stop this thing that she doesn't even know what the hell's going on. Because I'm convinced by the end of it, she never knew what was going on.
No, because when she finds those books with the pictures of Anne Dowd and stuff, she's completely... She's not like, oh, that's what it is. Exactly.
She's not in on it or anything. Where for a moment you're like, is she the orchestrator of all this? No. So that's where we're at with the story. So it's like, it sounds kind of like, a little bit uninteresting, but it really isn't.
No, it's really cool. Like, it's
because it's the way it's done, and then it sinks into me, this king guy. Now we've got him in the right body, I guess. A young, healthy teenage boy.
Yeah.
And the pictures we saw in those old books are really horrible.
Yeah, very.
And then
horrible.
You're like, now what? Right? Yeah. The queen is dead. The queen is dead, though. I don't know what we're going to do to conjure up the queen. The queen's dead. The mom's dead. The dad's dead. Everybody's dead. What's this king guy? And then, that's it. There's no, like, savior coming in. We don't end the whatever this cult's behavior. They're successful. And then you're like, whoa.
The way it's all revealed at the end with the music and the iconography of him with the hat and the thing on his nose and stuff, which looked kind of like the old king in the book. And the people praying and stuff, it's all very like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, it just feels awful. Like, you have this like gloom and doom feeling. And it's like, there's other films like this where you're never going to see that coming, that ending. It's impossible to think that that's what it is, right? Because there's not enough information.
Yeah. No.
I mean, there's information fed to you slowly. Well, the information's fed to Annie's character through these books that she finds, and there's some pictures.
There were a few movie tropes. We have the woman kind of explaining how to reach out to the dead, and then we have the books that she finds and the old photographs in a photo album, where it's telling us the exposition, as they like to say. But the rest of it is still question mark. You don't understand this woman's motivation. You don't. So that part's good, I think.
Yeah. So the way it all ends up, I loved that. I love that final shot with him just looking. This is a film that's nothing like this film, but the end of Evil Dead 2, where Ash is falls down from the sky. And he's in medieval times, and he looks, and he's like, his face is like, what is this? What am I in for? Like, that's what that kid's face looked like to me. He's like, it's all dawning on him what this is, and he's like, fuck. Like, what happens next? What's the next frame after this movie ends? I mean, what happens to that? What does he do?
Exactly.
Is he suddenly all powerful and, like a demon spirit guy who can do anything?
Or does he kill all these weirdos and move on with his life with a completely dead family?
It's like I just kept thinking, and let's have a little end credit scene or something to show him. But
20 years later, he has his own children, and he's bringing his queen, his queen, back to life, and his own granddaughter.
But the look on his face, and it's a treehouse, isn't it? Like what do you call that? I guess it's a treehouse.
Yeah.
And this treehouse is like
a cool treehouse too.
It's a little shrine to him, and it shows you things on the wall, and it shows you these people, and it shows you the bodies with the heads cut off, and it's like all the things dawning. I mean, they're dawning on you as a viewer, but I just kept thinking, oh, like him, like how what's he thinking now?
Well, he's that guy. So.
Yeah, he is that guy, but is he still is the kid still there, or is the kid gone? Like, you know, because the look on the face was like sheer, what is this? Like, I don't. So, yeah, I thought it was an awesome ending. I love the movie in general. Like I say, I have that one problem, and it's just that Andowed. It's not a problem with Andowed. It's just with that little. Like, she went from, like, meeting this woman and then visiting a house, and then she's doing a seance. Like, it was a bit too movie, like, you know, I would have liked more to that relationship to get to that point where she trusts her to do it. It just ended up like she did it in front of her, and then she's frightened, right? It was too... There's no way you would go round to this woman who you don't know's house once for a cup of tea, and then the second time you're doing a seance, right?
Well, she met her at that meeting. She knew of her.
Yeah, I mean, 3 times.
Yeah.
She's probably seen her. So that was the part that... But everything else, the music, there's this weird rumbling sound almost the entire movie. It's like, it's not music exactly. It's just a weird rumbling sound. And it just makes you on edge the entire time. In fact, the weird rumbling sound even happens in scenes that are not scary. Sometimes they just start talking, but that rumbling sound is there. Or they're in a classroom at school, there's a rumbling sound. And this movie...
Yeah, I'm like, stop sending this teenage guy who's driving a car and knocked his sister's head off, and then something else horrible happens in his family. It's all very horrible. Stop sending him to school. Just let him... have a break. Jesus.
I also didn't realise teenage parties consisting of baking. I didn't know there was that much baking going on.
Yeah,
chopping nuts.
And it was very fancy. Yeah, that was a little bit like,
I'm like, wow, this is a civilised party. They're doing a bong upstairs, but down here they're baking. And perhaps they were baking those brownies that, you know, those kind of brownies. But anyway, that there was... it's like a really, really ill... You know when that director said he wanted to make a movie that'll stick with you? This movie will stick with me. I can tell you now it will. The Cabin in the Woods sticks with me because of its twisty thing. The Invitation, which is another movie, sticks with me because of its twist. And this movie, it's not because of the twist that it sticks with you. I think it's the actual creepiness of this movie is legitimate. It's not just a cheap trick. It's not like, you know, The Conjuring, which... Would you agree with me that The Conjuring and the Annabelle are like the Marvel movies of horror movies? They're like the big, spectacular. You know, the huge. They're like a. No. It's like going on a fairground ride.
I think things like Freddy and Jason and Michael. Those are. No, I mean
now.
Oh no.
Like they're the huge. They're the biggest.
They're big, but they're not. It's not the same.
But they're just like going on a fairground ride. It's like you're going on this scary fairground ride. There's the creepy thing in the corner. There's the bang. There's the cupboard opening. That's the scary part of those movies. If you like that, this is not that. It's almost the opposite to that, but it's still got the scare to it. More, I would hate to compare it to other things, but the way The Exorcist creeps you out, this movie creeped me out the entire time.
Disagree again.
The Exorcist is way more creepy, don't get me wrong. Just because I find like a demon inside a child in that movie, and what the child actually starts saying, the creepy part for me. Like, it's like, oh, a child doesn't behave like that. It's really, it fucks with you. You know? She does some weird things and she says some horrible things. And that's where this movie doesn't do that. Even though you think it's going to. So it plays with your expectations, and it's not gory, I wouldn't say. You know, it's not...
I think that's pretty gory. And I'm pretty immune to it, but that... Because you see the result of a thing.
The head, yeah.
And then, Yeah, that's pretty gross.
The part where the son is in school and he's smashing his head against the desk was pretty...
Yep.
Intense. There's some real intense moments. So
the way we describe it is very varied.
Yeah, it is. It's, you know, it's it pushes all, for me, for what I like in a horror movie, it pushes all the buttons for me. It's reminiscent of some of the old movies I like. It's hard to pinpoint what is going to happen next. It's actually creepy. There's some good sound effects. You know that popping noise that she does, the girl? And they use that in like a surround sound kind of thing where it's like all over the place. It's above you, it's below you, it's in the back of you. It's just weird. Like, it's unsettling, I would say. So, yeah, moving on to the cast. Toni Collette plays Annie. What do you reckon?
No, she's really good. Like, really, really, really good.
And what's your favourite Toni Collette character before this? I thought she was... I said, oh, yeah, that's Toni Collette from Sex in the City. I don't know where I got that from. I've never seen Sex in the City.
She's not in Sex in the City. That's not correct.
So I don't know. I don't know.
I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I know Muriel's Wedding was a thing, and at the time I liked it, but I don't remember much about it, so I couldn't say, I'm going to have to say this.
Yeah, she is. You know, when you sometimes, I mean, you've seen a lot of horror movies, and so have I in my time. And sometimes horror movies, you know, they skimp on the acting. You know, the actors, like, you know, sometimes. And sometimes it's more...
Oh, often, yes.
Yeah, it's more the special effects and the actual creep-out thing is, like, high on the agenda, and the acting's secondary. But on this, everybody's like a super top-notch performance. I'm not, you know, they all deliver like hardcore performances. That's why I say the middle of this movie, the big chunk in the middle, is like this drama movie that is just intense. Like it's just people like dealing with death and grief
and each other
and something else that's happening.
Yeah.
And it's not a horror thing, but it's watching them. It's like these powerhouse performances back and forth. It's like, wow, I don't expect that from this movie either. I think that was one of the things where I was like, wow, that scene's like the scene, you know, that scene at the dinner table. It made me like, I was cringing in my seat. I was like, oh, what's she saying? Like, you know, it's bad news. So Toni Collette was, like I said, I don't know.
Are we still just talking about Toni Collette? We're kind of stuck on Toni Collette. Or are you just saying everybody's good? No,
that's the only one. That's the first. She's first on the list. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing. I mean, I asked you, and now I'm saying. So
right, it's long because you like her, but her performance reflects everybody's. It's all really good.
It's so I don't know her from anything else, including Muriel's Wedding. I haven't seen it, so I had to look through a list of movies. And there were a couple that I've seen, but I don't remember her in them. So this would probably be my favourite thing. Millie Shapiro, she's actually a new actress, she's actually not done movies. But she plays the daughter, Charlie.
She does a really good job of being creepy and just being a little girl. Well, she's 13, but...
Yeah, she's just a little girl, and then you might say, well, she's being creepy?
She's creepy because now we know what she was. She might not have known it, but now we know that she had that dude in her, the spirit of that whatever, which made her, you can say, oh, that's where that all comes from. Yeah.
Also, we didn't mention in this movie, we didn't mention it at all, but the theme of miniatures is a big thing in this movie. Oh, God,
it's wonderful. Yeah. Dollhouses.
Yeah. Toni Collette's character, makes them for a living. They're not
dollhouses. She's an artist, and she does miniature life. Yeah, like whole worlds of miniature.
And there's a lot of that, and they play with it also, like the perspective of the real world and the miniatures. You know, we just saw that in Sharp Objects with the doll's house as well. But in this, they really play with it, and it's awesome. So Millie Shapiro, I really liked. I'd like to see her in something else. What did they say in the extras that she played?
Nothing. He knew her from school.
He said she was in something like a musical or something.
Oh, I don't know.
She said, Matilda.
Oh, Matilda, correct.
Yeah. Gabriel Byrne, who we all know from all kinds of things, plays Steve.
He's good.
Yeah, really good. Gabriel Byrne often for me, he's just in the background of a movie. Like he's going to be good, but he's usually like the police chief or maybe the mob boss.
The authority figure of some kind, yeah.
And he just kind of blends in. But in this one, this relationship he has with Annie He used to be a shrink, and now he's...
we didn't know that, though, till the extras, so
husband.
keep that in mind. We had no idea that was their relationship until afterwards.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't impact what you know about
You
them.
are supposed to know the way they said.
I don't think so. They must
I
have
thought it
deleted
was
a scene then.
telegraphed through items on his desk, possibly.
I don't think so. If we didn't pick up on it, then they needed to tell us. But there were deleted scenes we didn't watch, so maybe one of those, brings it up.
But he is the skeptic part of the...
Kind of. But he doesn't resist because he loves her.
She tends to deliver a lot of shit, though, to your plate, this woman, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She's like, hey, hold on, come in here. Everybody wake up. Come in here. We're going to do a seance on the table. So you've got to, see, Hereditary also, it could be used as a metaphor for mental health in a family.
Absolutely.
So, and you could, what is established in this movie at the very end, which we've already discussed, might all be in the imagination.
True.
They might just be all nutters that's gone down the line, So who knows? But I think it's real. I'm going for it's real.
You're not a skeptic. You bought into it.
Alex Wolff plays Peter. I feel like I've seen him before in something, but I'm not sure what.
So nobody did a great job.
A method actor, we learned.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the method acting thing. I think it's a bit self-indulgent when you don't really have to claim that you're method anymore. You can just be good at being the character while the camera's on. It's really straightforward. Your job is to perform and pretend to bring in a character into your body, into your movements, into your brain for short pounds of time, to deliver lines, to make a character in a story everybody's going to watch, right? That's it.
Yep.
Pretending to be that person 24 hours a day or the entire time you're on the set, also asking people to call you by that name and then introducing himself at the end as himself, like into the cast and whatever. I get it. It just, if you're good enough, and he is good, I don't think that's what contributes to him being good.
He's good at dribbling.
There's a lot of dribbling, yeah. But he was really good. I was impressed with him. There were moments of just like, he had to be really terrified.
What I really liked about him is his slow unwinding as well. Like, because at the beginning he's just a normal kid, and his dad say "I love you" at the door and all that, and his life just starts to go just bad day by day, and it gets really bad, the worst, in fact, I would say. And then finally, Sid Talk's favourite, and out as Joan.
Joan's characters are not my favorite characters. I do not like them.
We watched American Animals a few weeks ago, and I said I'm really becoming a fan of Andout. I really liked her in The Leftovers. You didn't.
No.
That was what made you dislike her, I think.
The character, yeah.
And yeah.
To her credit, I guess.
Yeah, and in The Leftovers, she did play a person in a cult. And in this, she kind of plays a person in a cult. So, aside from American Animals, she seems to have that... she does seem like one note, kind of.
Yeah.
But I enjoy her. But then again, in this movie, it was the only thing I had a little problem with, because her scenes seemed a bit forced almost.
Forced and very theatrical, like on a stage, versus movie theatrics.
Like, she wasn't acting like a regular person would. She was saying...
I mean, later what she is, she's very excited that she thinks she's getting this shit all put together.
She's very determined to do her job, which is make sure this thing happens, right? So,
but it does come off a bit much.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the kind of movie that when you get to the end and you start thinking back of people's motivations throughout the movie that you had no idea about, it's like, oh, maybe that's why she's a bit over, friendly and a bit over, like, when she meets her in the parking lot and she's like, oh, and she wants to hug her and then she really wants to bring her in, like, I was like, wow, she's a bit familiar, right? That just seems a bit much, but she needed to be the most familiar to grab Toni Collette's character while she was at her lowest point so she could drag her into this thing to make her say the words out loud. So this is directed by Ari Aster. He has not directed a movie before. This is his first movie, but he has done some shorts. And holy crap, is this a great movie to start with.
I agree. It looks great. It's paced great, except for those couple of times I'm like, okay, I guess.
He's not like gimmicky with his camera work or any of that. It's very creepy without being like crazy. It's not Sam Raimi on the camera. It's not. It's not like here's a shot from upside down from the ceiling fan spinning around. It's none of that. It is.
I mean, there's a couple. There's a couple upside downs, and there's a couple of zoom ins,
and there's one through like a really through a glass or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
So there's a few, but that's down to his cinematographer, I think.
But it's very still. Whenever there's scenes of people talking, it's not cutting back and forth between them. It's like just looking at them, real long staring. So I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I love it when a new director comes around and the first movie is amazing, and then I think it must be really hard to follow that up.
Yeah.
Because like, how do you top that? You know, when we were watching the trailers before this movie, there was a trailer for the new movie from the guy who did It Follows, and It Follows was that guy's first movie, and I was like, how the hell can you follow It Follows?
Right, but It Follows isn't going to be everybody's favorite or cup of tea. So
no, but
not necessarily a landmark movie for you.
But for me, it was like one of those, like, oh wow, that was done by a first-time director. That is just like the concept, the look of it, the whole thing is just awesome. So I was like, oh, be hard to follow that one up. Also, the guy who did, I know we didn't like it as much, but Get Out was just super praised, like everywhere, right? And that was Jordan Peele's first movie. That'd be a hard one to follow up too, I think, because it was so beloved. I don't understand still why it's so beloved, but
no,
it was. So, in conclusion, this is a horror film for me. It was made for me. It's the kind of... I would watch this horror movie again, and generally horror movies, I don't go back and watch them much.
No.
Exorcist is a exception.
Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I would definitely... Devil's Rejects sticks in my mind quite a bit.
House of a Thousand Corpses, no?
No, I didn't like that one as much, but the Devil's Rejects I really like. Devil's Rejects 2 is coming out soon, apparently.
Well, the 31 wasn't great?
No, that was not great, no.
So you never know.
No.
You can't let the person's previous thing... We're talking about Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
Can't let his previous movies that you do like be like, oh, then every one of them's going to be great, because they're not.
I'm very interested in a sequel to The Devil's Rejects because I do like that one a lot. I think it's really a cool looking film and just messed up in a weird way. It's very messed up. So, yeah, I'm giving this my highest ranking for horror films. Well, it doesn't beat The Exorcist.
No, I was going to say it's not the highest.
But, you know, for a horror movie in 2018, this is where it's at for me. This is my It Follows of this year, or my, what else? The Witch of this year, possibly.
The Witch, yeah.
Yeah. It falls inside those, you know, high quality, oh my God, I didn't see all that coming kind of
but
movie.
it's no The Disappointment Room.
No, it's not.
Okay,
Nothing.
that's a joke? Don't go, I mean, you can go watch The Disappointment.
It's funny that movie has that title, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Is it?
It just like when the reviews came out that weekend for that movie, it just wrote itself, right? They just.
I mean, reviews they don't give a shit about other than people listening to us talk about movies. But I just watch things and then decide for myself.
That's an awful movie.
God, it was like I watched it all. Some movies I can't even pack it all through, but I got that one.
All right, so thank you to Lionsgate for sending us a copy of this for review.
I'll tell you what it does when you watch movies that you don't like or that aren't particularly well made. Once you kind of get in the groove of what you consider to be a well-made movie, or it could apply to anything, well-made art, well-made music, well-made clothing, whatever. Once you tap into that and you go to something that isn't, you really feel the difference. It makes you appreciate the effort that goes into the others. Even though I do like crappy ones too, crappy horror movies. But crappy horror movies, there's a thing, isn't there? Like, something like The Disappointment Room is trying so hard. Or The Boy as well. Just watched that recently.
I never watched that one. It looked terrible from the trailer, though.
The Boy and The Disappointment Room. I watched it all the way through, and you're like, I'm in it. They look nice. They're well made, but just not there, you know? But this kind of movie today makes me appreciate that someone's in love with making their own movie, and that I think makes a huge difference.
And let me just before we end the review, there's a couple of special features, not very much. There's Cursed, the true nature of Hereditary. That is interviews with the director and the cast. There's deleted scenes and there's evil in miniature photo gallery. Photo galleries are making a comeback, apparently. Alongside, like, gag reels, probably, photo galleries are one of the worst special features, don't you think? Because the movie is a lot of photos.
Yeah.
Especially when it's just photos from the movie. They're not actually behind the scenes. It's just like, look at this shot from the movie that you could pause and just look at anyway.
Yeah. I mean, behind the scenes can be interesting if you're interested in the kind of,
But
equipment.
I still need somebody talking over them, like a director saying, "This was the day we did this," because otherwise it's out of context. You don't know, like, oh, look, there's them filming a thing, and there's the camera. It's like it's a bit abstract, you know. I need explanation. There's no director's commentary on this movie, which is very disappointing for me because I do love director commentaries. So thanks to Lionsgate, highly recommend from me. And I think highly recommend from you. Hereditary.
Recommend for specific people, not everyone.
You said some of your friends who believe in all this kind of stuff.
Oh, would hate it. No, they would never watch it.
They would
oh my
freak
God,
out.
no. They would freak out immediately. If I told them the story, they would think I'm telling them a true story. They would believe that some lady was floating in the air cutting her own head off. Oh,
Spoilers.
Like, right. Oh my God, I believe that because I saw a woman in the corner of my dining room one time.
And she was cutting her head off.
And then I found out that some lady lived here 50 years ago and whatever. And I'm like, just so you know, neither of us, I don't think you or I, have any spiritual thingy. I don't believe that anything exists beyond.
It doesn't stop me enjoying a good spooky movie.
Correct. That's why I think I love them so much. It's like the most inventive way and tells me why people are interested. You know, if you tell me this creepy fucking story about bringing some horrible tyrannical king's spirit through the generations to make him alive again so that he can then dominate the world, okay, I'm in. I mean, that's an interesting kind of, you know.
All right, so talking of tyrannical, the Tyrannosaurus Rex will make an appearance in next week's movie review. It rhymes with tyrannical. That was a weak link. But next week's review will be Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the second in the Jurassic World series. So we'll be looking at that next week. So do your homework and watch it before you listen to our podcast. Movie recommendations. I actually said them during this movie. Number 1, The Invitation. A horror. Would you call The Invitation a horror movie? Or is it
It's
just
got a
thriller?
horror element.
Yeah, not particularly. It's not like full-on horror, though, is it? I mean, there's some... Well, maybe.
You'd have to decide what's The Purge. It's not really horror either.
It's similar to
or
The
The
Purge.
Strangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not...
Slasher? No, it's not even that.
No.
Is it? Anyway, there's a movie called The Invitation. Came out about 2 years ago. It's... You're not going to see what's coming kind of movie, and that's it. I recommend it. And my other one is Cabin in the Woods. And just as we were watching this movie, Burt Reynolds, movie star, died. R.I.P. Burt Reynolds.
Not while we were watching the movie. He had already died.
Yeah, well, we found out during watching this movie. And I want to recommend one of his movies, my favourite Burt Reynolds movie. And it's not Smokey and the Bandit. Even though I loved Smokey and the Bandit as a kid, I would watch it over and over and over. It's Boogie Nights, or Boogie Nights if you're American.
Boogie Nights.
Paul Thomas Anderson's movie. It was actually the comeback for Burt Reynolds. He'd been away from films for a while, and it was like, here he is again. And he is excellent in that movie. He is creepy and weird. He plays the head of
He's making a movie currently as well.
Right. He plays the head of a porn studio in Boogie Nights, and he's kind of weird and creepy, and it's in the 70s. So I recommend Boogie Nights if you've not seen it. And your recommendations
Mine are Cabin in the Woods. Because Cabin in the Woods, you didn't mention that.
I did.
Barely. Because Cabin in the Woods is one of those where you're watching along and you're like, what's this really up to? And then you're like, what? That is fucking awesome. Like, really awesome. Loved it. There's also Cabin Fever, which, the first one, original, you're watching. And it's not like other gross, horror-y people trapped in some horrible disease thing happening. You know what I mean? That one also.
Yeah.
I think it's not subtle or anything, but it's also...
I mean, the original Cabin Fever really makes me think of Evil Dead quite a bit.
Yeah.
But without the supernatural.
Oh, and Evil Dead. There you go. Evil Dead.
Yeah.
One of your faves.
Yeah.
So Cabin in the Woods, and then in honor of Mr. Reynolds, I'm going to say watch old episodes of the black and white Gunsmoke from the very early days, because Mr. Reynolds, as a young man, was there to portray a young man who was half African American, Native American, and like his father was like a settler and his mother was a Native American, and so it was very controversial, and they used him as in many of the episodes as sort of like, you know, prejudiced people would try to attack him, and then he would do the heroic thing and prove everybody wrong kind of deal. But he was actually pretty intense. So that would have been leading up to all of his, you know, fame and whatnot as the Burt Reynolds. So
and let's not forget Deliverance.
Yeah. Excellent. I don't remember Deliverance, so I guess I have forgotten it.
Ooh, so good. So good. Like...
I mean, I remember the gist of it.
One of the best 70s movies for me. So, yeah, there are recommendations for this week. There are A Scully stuff. There are 2 games coming up next week. I won't be able to talk about them just yet, but I'll tell you that they're coming up. Spider-Man on the PS4, which they've been teasing that at E3 for about the last 3 years. You have probably seen bits and pieces of it, right? Spider-Man?
The game?
Yeah.
No.
Did you not see it at E3? You watched the E3 conference with me.
Yeah,
so
but I'm so not interested in that I can't probably didn't really
I love
soak it
Marvel.
up.
And this looks like it's a proper Spider-Man game. They've never really had an amazing Spider-Man game.
Uh-huh.
But this one's an amazing Spider-Man game. It's coming out soon, so I'll talk about it next week. And also coming out next week, at the next Friday, is the final chapter of the Tomb Raider trilogy, the new Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'll talk about that next week. And what I have been playing this week still is that game that took me 2 years to launch, and that's Rainbow Six Siege. It's on the PC, it's on the Xbox, it's on the PS4. I'm playing the PC version. It is 2 teams of 4 people. One's a SWAT team, one's a terrorist team. You have to either pick up a hostage or defuse a bomb, usually. And it's rounds, you know, multiplayer rounds. It's kind of like, you would compare it to something like Call of Duty, but it's a lot more slow-moving. It's not super fast. You don't respawn. You just one life. So you have to make it count.
Dead is dead.
Yeah, it's like a proper hostage situation. You don't just come back to life like you do in Call of Duty. So often you die very quickly because there are some very good players out there. But I find that I do get some good games in, and it's really, really fun. Rainbow Six. It's really, really cheap as well at the moment, I've noticed. It's like $15, so which is normally $60. So if you are interested, or you've ever been interested and thought it was too expensive, now's the time. So, Sid Talk, what is for dinner?
The standard movie night fare should be Freddy's, veggie burgers, and fries, but it's not necessarily what we have to have if you choose something else. I got those Quorn brand fish.
Ooh.
Quote unquote, we don't eat meat, and so, or fish, we're vegetarian, we're not vegan. That's very, very different and very difficult. But they make a vegan fish stick, fish in quotation marks, that's amazing. I mean, we were so skeptical, so we could have those and something else.
We could have those, actually. They sound
and
good.
And some rice. Oh.
Do we have chips to go with them?
Don't think so. I'll look. If we have chips, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because the new stove with the new oven can come on. Oh, yeah.
It sounds delicious.
Although driving and getting drive-through is much easier, and there's no dishes, you know, blah, blah, blah. We'll see. It's a mystery at this point. And you want to know what my advice is to everyone?
I do, actually, yes.
My advice is, it's not advice, it's an observation. But in general, the thing you're not going to do because you think it's too complicated isn't as complicated as you think. You might not do it well the first time or ever, but you can still accomplish it. I'm making a skirt for my mother for her birthday. I don't know how to sew. I mean, I know how to sew 2 pieces of material together. But then you got all this stuff, like there's different needles and there's like pleats and then there's gathered, and you go to the store and there's like 50 kinds of elastic, and I'm not kidding. 50 kinds of elastic. There's no roll and woven and clumpy and non-clumpy and ropey and stretchy, bigger, wide. There's fold over. There's all kinds of shit. And I'm just like, whoa, all I need is a piece of elastic because I'm going the easy way and making a hole around the top and put the elastic through. Also, I don't know her measurements, so this is me making it a little more tricky and complicated. However, I'm just going to do it because it's not going to be as complicated.
Not having
as I think.
somebody's measurements and making them clothes seems the most hardest thing to do.
It's not difficult at all. What's really difficult is
random.
her editing it. Not editing. What do you do to clothing? Tailoring it herself after I give it to her. It's just a fun skirt. She made me one in college that was 30 years ago that had like big light bulbs on it and great big giant pockets, and I wore it. It was supposed to be my study skirt. I wore that thing until about 5 years ago because I wore it until it fell apart, and then I cut it apart and
That doesn't sound like you.
That's totally me. As I sit there with a big t-shirt with a giant hole down the side. Yeah, I'm not a fashion person. And sewing seems really elusive and difficult and complicated. And as I do it, you hear me, I'm so proud of myself. I did a pleat, and I'm like, that looks like a pleat that I saw that lady do on the internet. That's impressive. It's a little tricky. You got to know the rules, but once you do it, just like anything, just like you playing a video game or building a computer or me drawing a picture or growing a plant from a seed, once you do it, you realize I can do this. It's not that complicated. So basically what I'm saying is don't use that as an excuse.
Well said.
Thank you.
Succinct and to the point.
Not really.
You can catch this podcast on, you can go to ascully.com, ascully.com. You can catch it also on the iTunes Music Store, the Google Play Store. You can go to Twitter and Facebook. You can go to YouTube. You can go anywhere you possibly need to go, and you will find us. We're pretty much on everything. We're even on Plex, actually, the new podcast app inside Plex. We're in there. Just search for After the Show Movie Podcast. Also, if you've got an Amazon device, say your trigger word and say, listen to After the Show Movie Podcast on TuneIn. It will play you the latest episode. Also, email me at ascully@ascully.com. Don't email Sid Talk. And stay classy, Mr. Burt Reynolds. And also, Hereditary. This is a classy horror movie.
I'm going to say think for yourself. Or someone's going to try to do it for you and decide things for you. So just decide for yourself.
Nice.
Amendment there.